Yesterday, the president, Kayleigh, tweeted out that this Buffalo protester, the 75-year-old who was shoved to the ground by a police officer, might have been part of Antifa and a provocateur in order to get that type of reaction, just to paraphrase.
In fact, the elderly man who was assaulted by cops was a lifelong peace activist, and there's no evidence for Trump's claim, but let's see what his press secretary has to say.
Could you expand on that? Does the president think that this guy is part of Antifa?
So the president was raising questions based on a report that he saw. There are questions that need to be asked. In every case, we can't jump on one side without looking at all the facts at play. This individual had some very questionable tweets, some profanity-laden tweets about police officers. Of course, no one condones any sort of violence. We need the appropriate amount of force used in any interaction. But there are a lot of questions in that case. In fact, you had 56 police officers who resigned in protest of how their fellow officers were treated. So I think we need to ask why those officers resigned, what happened, what facts were on the ground, and the president was just raising some of those questions.
You're just raising questions, just asking random things. I don't know if the protester who was assaulted by police and is laying in a hospital bed, I don't know if he's a murderer. I'm just asking. Could you get away with that for Trump? Could you ask if Trump, eats babies? Oh, I'm just asking. Yeah, you wouldn't hold that standard at all. So what did Trump tweet about the elderly man laying in a hospital bed after police assaulted them and then they were fired, and then 50 plus officers in Buffalo resigned in solidarity with the police, an epitome of the sickness that is policing in America? What did Trump have to say? Buffalo protester shoved by police could be an Antifa provocateur. Jesus, 75-year-old Martin Gugino was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out the equipment? What? At OANN, I watched. He fell harder than was pushed, was aiming scanner, could be a setup. This is the ravings of a lunatic, of your uncle who reads conspiracy theories online and sends you an all caps email. That is who Donald Trump is, except he's just rich and he's the president and has weird hair and skin. I mean, and by the way, if he's watching OANN, for you guys who don't know, it's just Fox News, except even more conciliatory and obsequious to Donald Trump, which I know doesn't seem humanly possible, but it is. Mr. Trump's tweet seems to have been based on a report by One American News Network, a right-wing cable television channel, which claimed that Mr. Gugino had been trying to knock out the police officers' radios with his cell phone, an idea that several of Mr. Gugino's friends dismissed as ludicrous. One American News, based in San Diego, was founded in 2013 by Robert Herring, a California businessman who made a fortune in the technology industry. The network rallied behind Mr. Trump in the 2016 presidential election, and its coverage increasingly shifted to cheerleading on behalf of the president and his administration. Other conspiracy theories have surrounded Mr. Gugino in recent days on social media, among them that the blood seen leaking from his ear on the video was fake. Martin Gugino is an activist, a seasoned peacenik, who in a lifetime of protests has taken part in demonstrations against military drones, climate change, nuclear weapons, and police brutality. Antifa, or Antifa is how you pronounce it? Oh heavens no, said Judy Metzger, 85, a longtime friend who lives near Mr. Gugino in Amherst, a suburb of the city. Martin is a very gentle, a very pleasant person. Born in Buffalo, Mr. Gugino spent most of his working life in Cleveland, where he specialized in creating computer databases, his friends and colleagues said. He went back to his hometown to care for his mother, and after she died, he lived alone in her home, finding fellowship at the Western New York Peace Center and at other parts of the city's close-knit left-wing activist community. But according to Donald Trump, that man is a terrorist. That sweet, kind from all reports, old man who was, we don't even know because I believe he's still in the hospital for being assaulted by police, looked like he might have been trying to give their helmet back to them. He was holding something that looked like a helmet and they pushed him to the ground, an elderly man. You could hear his skull cracking on the pavement. If you look at the video from another angle, not the viral video, there was another one. You can hear it. It still sends chills down my spine. He was just standing there and police shoved him to the ground. An old man, no decency whatsoever. A man who was just a simple dude, like working guy who just wanted to make a difference. Like all of us do. working in left-wing communities and doing peaceful protests his entire life, and cops shoved him to the ground so hard that his skull ricocheted off the pavement and he bled from his ear. And Donald Trump is accusing him, by his definition, because Trump has said he wants to designate Antifa, which isn't an organization, as a terrorist organization. So he's saying this man's a terrorist. Then all of us are terrorists. Then I'm a terrorist. We all stand behind this man, behind Mr. Gugino, and I want Donald Trump to know that.